Yeah.
Our team has had an unbelievable week. This has been a great bowl. Russell Athletic they put together a tremendous time for our players. We've spent time at Disney World and Universal, Magic Kingdom, and we've had just a great week. And it's been really good as a coaching staff. Practice facilities and everything that we've needed. It's been really, really good. So our players have had a great time. Our fans have had a great time. Our families have had a great time, which is really the most important thing for us. And, now we're excited about playing a football game.
All right, this time we'll open it up for Q&A.
How has the business trip aspect of this gone, especially since you got down here?
It's been really good. Our players have treated, they've had, we talked about this before we got here. We're here to win a football game and try to get number 12 for us, but also to have a good time. I mean, this is their reward. And so they know when it was time for meetings and practice that it was time to go. And our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practices have been just like they have throughout the entire season. And so we've got a very mature group that has done a great job of preparing each and every week, and they've done the same thing this week.
It's up. You good? Oh, wait. Sorry, can you see if it's on?
Just switch them out.
I'll be able to hear you.
Baylor has several offensive players injured. What do you see from their offense, with the changes they've had?
Well, one, I was talking with Art last night, telling him what an unbelievable job they've done with the injuries. I mean, to be able to do that, to have three quarterbacks go down and still have the kind of year that they've had has been tremendous. And so there's no doubt in my mind they're going to put 11 guys out there that can play football. And, they've done a great job of recruiting. They've got a team that's it looks like they've just been the next man up, and they hadn't blinked. And so, he'll do a great job, I know, and they'll have a great plan against us.
Hey, Larry, you talked about the emotions of playing Baylor, given that you started your coaching career there. I'm wondering if you've heard or how many people you've heard from with Baylor connections, Coach Taft or anyone like that during the past week.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I mean, ever since the announcement that we were playing Baylor, because I've got so many friends that are still there that I've stayed in contact with over the years. So it's kind of been neat catching up with a lot of them. A lot of them will be at the game, and I look forward to seeing them. So. My two oldest children were born in Waco while we were there, and I was actually there 6 years, which was the longest I've been at any place. So we have a lot of great friends there, so it's been fun.
Coach, you mentioned a little bit about the injuries Baylor has gone through, but with a quarterback who has just a little over 30 snaps on film to be able to watch, how have you been able to prepare for Chris Johnson?
Well, it's been tough. I mean, because the first game he played in against TCU, they were playing in a monsoon, and you don't know what anybody could do in that game. I mean, it was extremely tough. And then he comes in. He's not in the Texas game very long, and so. But I can tell you, he's a kid that can run. I mean, so he adds that dimension to their team. But he can also throw it. I mean, he's not going to be back there if he can't throw, and so he can throw it. They're gonna spread you out. They're going to do what they do. They're not going to change. Baylor's not going to change in their last game of the year because of an injury. They're going to do what they do, and this kid will be able to do it, I assure you.
People have made the comparison between what you guys do offensively and what Baylor does offensively. How do you see just the similarities between y'all, and how different are y'all in the versions of the spread that you guys run?
Yeah, so there's so many different versions of the spread. Everybody used the term, but essentially you're spreading the field and creating seams in the defense is what you're doing. And they're up-tempo as well as we are, and we may be a little more multi-tempo than they are. But essentially you want to spread people out and you want to run the football. And they're averaging 300 yards a game rushing, so they do a great job of it. They're really big and physical up front. And so we're similar in that aspect, that we would like to be able to run the football too. We believe it starts there. And but you have to be able to do both. People can stack it up in the box and stop the run. You better be able to throw it. And so we've always prided ourselves, as I'm sure Art does also, is that you can do both.
Larry, the different places you've been, what has your offense just kind of evolved, or what's the genesis of your offense?
When I left Baylor, I went to the Air Force Academy and worked under Fisher DeBerry there, and it was just pure option football at that time. And so from there, I got the offensive coordinator's job at Middle Tennessee State and knew, at that time it was a 1AA team that was making the transition to 1A. So we knew we wouldn't have the talent that we were going to need to play against the big boys, so we needed some type of edge offensively. So we were either going to go in and I was going to run the option like we did at Air Force, or I was going to spread it out, go no huddle, which at that time there weren't any teams doing that. And so we were going to be different. And got to see the quarterback. He couldn't run a lick, so we just decided we were going to spread it out, go no huddle, throw the ball around, and have a good time. And if Wes is listening, I apologize, Wes, but he knows he couldn't run either. So, and then over time it's evolved. And the thing that was probably the biggest difference back then is going multi-tempo, because back then defenses were still huddling. So we would be running a play, and the Mike linebacker would still be talking to the defense in a huddle. I mean, it was really weird, and they had a hard time with it. And the way the rules were set up at that time, you could do a lot of things. You could run personnel groups out and then run them back off. And as the defense was trying to change, you'd snap the ball and you'd have a penalty. So there were a lot of things that you could do to take advantage of the situation. And now those rules have changed, but we've evolved. I mean, those guys that played for me in 98 or 99, they can still look at the offense and they can still call things that happen in the offense because the base is still there.
I think you told us a bit ago that the first time you met Art Briles was when he was coaching in high school and you were recruiting one of his kids. What do you remember about that experience and meeting him for the first time? And
the kid's name was Brandon Stewart, and he was a heck of a player. I mean, a great player. He could throw it all over the place. And I remember going, watching film. We loved Brandon. He became the number one quarterback that we were recruiting. That was my area, so I started spending a lot of time in Stephenville as much as the NCAA would allow, and getting to know Art and what they were doing, and watching how they practiced and all the things they did. And it was really impressive back then, because now you're talking, that was early 90s. And so it was really impressive what he was doing at that level. Then you go to the games, and he had the fans all completely behind him. They had these cans, I remember, and they were full of ball bearings, and they would shake these cans the whole game. And I mean, it was really loud, and just did a great job. And I ended up losing the kid to David Cutcliffe at Tennessee, actually. And the kid went, and the next day Peyton Manning committed. And so it was, I think he stayed there one semester and ended up transferring to Texas A&M after that. But it was a great family. And, Stephenville was a small town that football was very important. So I would get over there. I told this to Art last night. I'd get over there early in the morning, around 5:30 in the morning. I'd make the trip, get over there, and go to a local coffee shop and just sit in there and listen to the farmers talk and see what I could pick up, from what was going on in town about that kid and his family. And so it was a neat experience for me, other than I lost him.
Coach, obviously you had a little bit of disappointment there in the ACC title game, but how big of a step would it be in evolution for this program to get that 12th win this season?
Well, we would make history at the University of North Carolina. It's never been done. We would do that. It would, we'd send our seniors out the right way. We would also establish a foundation for our future and a new standard for Carolina football, and one that all the future teams will be compared to is this 2015 team. So it'd be a heck of a deal for us.
Coach, Marquise Williams, how have you seen him develop over the years, and what kind of leader has he become for this team?
Well, Marquise, when we first got there, a very fiery, very competitive kid that even back then had trouble controlling that emotion on the field. And he has done such a tremendous job of maturing since then. Not that I'm saying he was immature, but the way he has matured, the way he's established himself as a leader on our football team, and the way he is led in a positive manner, especially this year. I mean, he's and become so much more consistent than he was. When he was younger, if he was having a great game, then everything was great. If he was not having a great game, then he was low. Now he just stays the same level throughout a game and throughout everything that we do. And so, that's something that people can follow.
With Seth gone, are you adding anybody to the press box? And also, how much of a role, active role, are you going to take in the play calling tomorrow night?
We will. We're not adding anybody to the press box. Andrew Mitchell has taken over the role. He's our offensive GA. He's taken over the role of coaching the tight ends on a weekly basis, during practices and those things. He's already in the box. Keith Eckendorf is in the box. So we've handled it, as a staff, a lot like we did last year. And we get into the game, I will probably be a little bit more involved than I have normally, but we'll still do it like we do it. I mean, most of that is set up in between series and the way we're going to call things. And then during the critical situations, I'm sure I'll be involved.
Back when you got hired by Baylor as a grad assistant, if that had not happened, what were your options at that point, and what was your path going to be, and how did that help catapult you?
I'd still probably be coaching high school ball in the state of Texas, and my wife was very naive at the time. I was too, is because I told her, I said, let's take this shot and see where it leads, and if it doesn't work out, we'll just go back and we'll coach high school ball in the state of Texas and be happy, and she was good with that. And I said, and then if it does work out, we'll just stay in the state of Texas. Since your family's here, my family's here, we'll stay in colleges in the state of Texas. So we left there in '96 and hadn't been back. So that was a little bit misleading there.
And then you described how you guys are similar offensively moments ago, but how are you guys different, do you think, offensively, the main differences in your versions of the spread?
Yeah, I would say, Art, when they say spread the field, I mean, when you talk, the field is 53 yards wide. I mean, they use all 53. I mean, there are times where you've got wide receivers that are lined up within a yard from the sideline. So they really will stretch you out and put your linebackers and safeties that are trying to cheat in the box, they will put them, they will make it really tough for them, which again creates seams in that, in the defense. And now you've got to do some things that to get those guys back in the box, or they'll kill you with the running game. That's why they're averaging 300 yards rushing. So we're a little bit different in that aspect. We're not always spread that far.
Everyone's talking about the offenses in this game, but your defense is much improved. Do you see this as one more test, and what type of test will this game be for them?
Well, it'll be the biggest test we've had. I mean, Clemson was really good, but Art and them and what they do offensively really test you. And so, I mean, the team that plays the best defense is going to win the football game. I really believe that. And so our guys understand that challenge. They know what's there. They know they've got great speed on the outside, kids that can take you deep at any time. And then they've got a great offensive line. They're going to have a quarterback there that can do both, and they're going to have a running back that can take it the distance anytime. So they understand what's at stake here and what they're going to have to do, and they're ready to meet the challenge.
Coach, you had mentioned earlier that your teams are a little bit similar, but if anything, does Baylor compare to anybody in the ACC, especially offensively, anybody you played this year, or South Carolina, even just anybody at all? I
mean, if you were going to compare them to anybody offensively, you'd have to compare them to Clemson. I would say, that I don't know that Clemson has the same type of wide receivers that they have. I would say that Baylor's probably more mature in the offensive line. On that side of the ball, defensively, with the Billings kid and the Oakman kid, they're really good up front, just like Clemson was. And they've got guys in the back end that can run, and so. I would have to compare them to Clemson, and Clemson is the #1 team in the country, so pretty good comparison.